Hi, Aaron here. In this tutorial, you'll learn how to use Jira Cloud Automation to create document revision numbers so that you can implement compliant workflows on your requirements, tests, and any other formal documentation you maintain in Jira. Here's an example. Suppose I'm implementing a new user story, and part of the work for this user story is to revise an existing already approved requirement. So to do that, I can enter into this requirement. You can see this requirement is approved, and I have a revision number on here, which is currently 1. And so to revise, I simply need to move this requirement back to draft. And if I refresh my screen, we can see that the revision number was incremented to 2. And now let's look at the audit history to see what happened when I revised this record. And the audit history is pretty straightforward. You can see I transitioned this record from approved to draft. And when I did that, Automation for Jira incremented the revision number from 1 to 2. Let's also take a quick look at the revision number field itself. I want to show that this field is a locked field, a read-only text field. So that means users cannot edit your revision number directly, only the automation will be able to update it. Now that we've seen a brief demo, let's learn how to configure this. First, we need to create that revision number field. And to do that, we'll go to Settings, Issues, and then Custom Fields. We'll filter on our revision number field that we created. And you see that this is a read-only text field. So just a bit ago, we saw that that field was not editable to regular users, only to the automation. And that's how you configure that, is by creating a read-only text field. Next, we need to configure the automation rules. And to do that, we'll go back into our project, and then we'll go to Project Settings and Automation. In our list of automation rules, we see 2 rules that were configured to support the revision number. One rule to initialize the revision number, and another rule to increment the revision number. Let's look at the initialize rule first. This rule has a trigger and an action. The trigger runs anytime an issue is created, and when an issue is created, you want to initialize that revision number field to 1. Finally, let's look at the rule for incrementing the revision number. This rule is a little bit more complex than the last one. You can see it has a trigger, then it has an if-else structure, and inside that if-else structure is where we're going to update or increment the revision number. So first, the trigger is a transition trigger, and it'll run anytime a record is transitioned out of the approved status. So in this case, from approved back to draft or in progress, we want to increment the revision number. The if statement checks to see whether or not the revision number field is empty. Now, we just saw that we have a automation rule that will initialize the revision number field, but we can't trust that that rule has been run on every single record. For example, what if you've created the record in another project and then moved it into the current project, or you created a record before this feature was implemented? There's different scenarios where your revision number is going to be blank. And if you have a blank revision number, then you're going to initialize the revision number to 2 at this point, not 1, because this is running on a transition out of approved. So we're basically going to start the revision number feature at 2. In the else clause, so for any case where the revision number is not empty, we're going to use a Jira Smart value. So that's what this weird notation is. We're going to use a Jira Smart value to take the current value for revision number and increment it by 1. That's what this notation means. Whatever the current revision number is, increment it by 1. And in that way, we can increment this revision number every time it transfers out of approved back to draft or in progress. And that's all it takes. Just a custom field for your revision number and 2 automation rules. You'll primarily use this feature for records that follow a traditional document workflow, like requirements or tests, but I like to implement this on any record where I can transition something out of approved once it's been signed off on. All right, that's all for now. Thanks for watching.